Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the Champions Cup semi-final between Leinster and the Northampton Saints. Two sides that have been looking very strong throughout this competition, but now they collide and only one can make it through to the final to take on a French team. Looking through at this Leinster lineup, once again, as always, it is stacked from start to finish. Cian Healy alongside Dan Sheehan and Tyke Furlong as the front row. Argus Neyman gets himself a start alongside Joe McCarthy. That could be an extremely dangerous lock and drive for this match. Max Deegan at 6, Josh Van Flair at number 7, and Caelan Doris finishes out the 4-pack as the number 8. Jameson Gibson Park alongside Sam Prendergast. Look for their explosive play in their 9-10 channel. Robbie Henshaw alongside Gary Ringrose with, of course, Geordie Barrett making his way off the bench too. James Lowe, Tommy O'Brien and Hugo Keenan. It doesn't get much better for a club side than what we see for Leinster in this match. But for the Northampton Saints, they come in as the big underdogs, but they want to cause the upset. Iogun in the front row alongside Langdon and Davison. Timo Maina Vanua and Adam Coles, or Alex Coles, I should say, as the locking duo. Then Kimini Pollock. He's been talked about a lot this week. He said that he wants to come into this game, cause a few problems for this Leinster team. They've pretty much said, well, if he's going to do that, we're going to smash him. Augustus in that number 8 jersey, a massively built individual who will look to run over the top of anyone who gets in his way. The loose forwards will be so important throughout this matchup, and it could be a very entertaining back and forth. Alex Mitchell and also Smith as the 19 combo. Hutchinson in the midfield alongside Dingwall, and then Litchfield out on one wing, Tommy Freeman out on the other, and James Ram as the number 15. So those are the starting sides for this match. And we have got nervous knowing how much Northampton pushed Leinster near the end of last year. Just hope to be more relaxed, says Sean. But that's the thing. It's a semi-final. And for any Leinster supporter at this stage of the comp, definitely when it comes to the Champions Cup as of late, there will be nerves. Because normally La Rochelle are the team to cause the problems. But they are no longer in the competition. Leinster can thank Munster for knocking them out. This is a Lions audition, says Robert. Yeah, I think a lot of these games for the weekend, of course, only 4 days away from the Lions side being announced, or maybe it's 5, depending on time zones. But, yeah, very important that you put in a last good shift. Maybe there are a couple guys right on the verge of getting selected. So if you go out there and you make a statement here, maybe you increase your chances just that little bit more. Looking through at recent form for Leinster, they were able to beat the Harlequins 62-0. They were then able to beat Glasgow 52-0. Now, it's been talked about a lot in terms of how strong this Leinster side have been in this Champions Cup competition, because you look at their last 2 games, theoretically, that's 114-0. No one has scored against them in knockout rugby of the Champions Cup. In pool play, it was different, but in this knockout stage of the comp, no one has crossed the try line. No one's even got the 3 points up against them. So, of course, Northampton, not only will they want to get 3 or 7, they'll want to get closer to around their 30 mark. Scarlets, they were able to beat Leinster, but that is definitely a game that can be deceptive, because Leinster went with, I would almost not even call it their B side. It was almost the developmental team for Leinster. They fought well in the first half, but the youngsters started to tire in the second, and Scarlets had more determination. They needed that win to help secure themselves a spot in the quarterfinals. So boy, did they fight for it. Leinster, this game, like I said, not one to base it off. The only thing that kind of counts towards is their current record. But I'm sure they won't mind if they do walk away with a win here. For the Northampton Saints, they were able to beat the Bristol Bears in their most recent game of the Gallagher Premiership, as well as a massively close game up against Newcastle, just getting over the line in what was a very entertaining game of rugby in their quarterfinals. They have conceded 40 points, but they have scored 97 of their own. So both of these teams know how to score, which is something to definitely watch out for throughout this matchup. In terms of where they are sitting in the overall standings, Leinster are sitting at the top of the bunch for the URC. They have won 14 games. They have only lost the 2, one of which was that game up against the Scarlets. The other was in South Africa only a few weeks ago. For the Premiership side of things, as you can see there, Northampton actually in 7th, but that can be extremely deceptive. They won the competition last year. They maybe aren't anywhere near as high as they would like to be for this season, but that doesn't mean that a late little burst might put them up just a little bit closer, although I think they've only got one more game, so you're not quite the backing up of the champs that they would have liked. But we're almost into this match. Looks like a beautiful afternoon at the Aviva for this contest. And hopefully it is going to be a very impressive one. What we will quickly do as well is we will go like this. There we go. And salutations, here's Robert. Welcome in, mate. And we have got this as a live stream or commentary only. It is just the commentary, just due to copyright. But I will mention, depending on where you are in the world, there may be a free-to-air option. I believe RTE Player has got it in Ireland. So if you are located in Ireland, all you need is that account. I think it's all free for that one. But another one to look for is the Champions Cup website that has a Where to Watch tab, where you will be able to see exactly where you can catch this game. Leinster has too much depth. So here's Gary Miller. Yeah, they're a dangerous side. And like Sean said earlier on, it's a little bit nervous at this time of the year because Leinster, the last couple, have had all the opportunity, all the players in the world, but they just haven't quite finished the job. They haven't put the trophies in the cabinet. So this season, they seem to just have that razor focus of not just winning one comp, but winning both of them. And they've got the players to do it. As a Bok fan, I would hate to face this Leinster team. Says Robert. And yeah, it is a dynamic backline. And also that forward pack. The loose forward trio, I mean, it's just Ireland, pretty much in terms of the loose forwards. And the forward pack, you could almost say, is Ireland plus Argeir Snyman. The backline normally is Ireland plus Geordie Barrett, but in this game, Barrett will be making his way off the bench instead. A good thing you are not a Bok fan then, says Sakabula, although he said as a Bok fan rather than not as one. But looking through at the reserves for this side, Ronan Kelleher, Andrew Porter and Slimani as the number 18, Ryan Beard and Jack Conan as the other two forward replacements, then Luke McGrath, Ross Byrne and Geordie Barrett as the replacement backs as well. Angus Scott Young, a man who did come from the Super Rugby side of things. We have been keeping an eye on him playing for Northampton, as well as a few of the other Premiership guys from Super Rugby. He will be quite the impact player, I would think. Yes, he maybe hasn't quite had the same impact as he had back in Super, but still a very handy player to have later on in this match. 6-2 split as well, I should mention, for Northampton. And sorry, Robert misread. See Sakabula, Leinster, a few flags in the stands. Now, we did see a lot of Edinburgh flags in the stadium stands, but they actually did lose in their last game, although there's a Northampton Saints one there too. Crowd looking relatively full for this contest, which is fantastic to see. And imagine having the depth to bring Geordie Barrett off the bench. Yeah. And like when you look at the players who aren't even in this 23, the fact that a lot of those guys could just slot into the bench or into the starting lineup without too much trouble at all, they're a dangerous team, like I said. And it's about time they started putting those trophies in the cabinet. Yes, they've been near the top of the bunch for the URC for the last 3 or 4 years, but that hasn't got them anywhere in terms of the overall titles to the name. This is, I believe, Leinster's best year in terms of being able to put trophy to cabinet. And they certainly put crowd in stands as well by the looks of the Aviva. Plenty of people there. Springboks only for the Avatar rugby team. Not Ireland Plus, says Albert. And she in first try, says Patrick. Is that off a rolling maul or is that just in general that he will score at an open play? And Leinster to win 50 points to 25, says Patrick for his prediction. Do also let me know anyone else who is in the chat who you think will win this matchup. It could be a close one, but at the same time, like I said, Leinster come in as heavy favourites and they have looked phenomenal throughout this season, so I would not be surprised if we see them do it again. However, they better win this cup as a South African team. Will take the URC Cup this year. And at the moment, there are a few teams right up there in terms of the standings. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one to see what exactly happens throughout this 80 minutes. I believe both sides will go for quite a quick start. Thank you all, for all your commentary, says Robert. No worries at all. We have also got the sevens taking place a little bit later on. So anyone who is new to the channel, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button as it is greatly appreciated. They are showing Henry Pollock, a man who has talked a big game, but he has got the skills to back it up. And general always good for a try, says Patrick. Definitely in those wide channels for Dan Sheehan. Does love to run the ball. Someone else who loves to run it, of course, is Sam Prendergast. The countdown is on. The nerves will be now setting in. There is a silence around the ground with the exception of the countdown. And we're now underway for the Champions Cup semi-final. Kicked off from Leinster from left to right and nicely taken by the Saints inside of their 22. Leinster overwhelming favourites, going to take any team a huge effort to beat them at home. Says Sakabula and Ardeguer with a one-handed offload to Barrett under the post. So I assume that's in the second half as Barrett is not starting. They have gone with Henshaw and Ringrose. Like someone said earlier on, when you can bring Barrett off the bench rather than having him starting, that's how you know you got a pretty strong lineup already, a penalty advantage in favour of Leinster. In fact, it is a knock-on advantage. My apologies, James Lowe. Let's try and go for the pass on the outside. Doesn't quite work out. So they will go back for... No, it is the penalty, in fact. What does that mean? It's not offside. Maybe not releasing. I would say going against Leinster there. Thank you for all your commentary. This game is exciting, says Albert. Or sorry, that says Robert, I should say. And Leinster 42 to the Northampton 18. It's Lily B's prediction. Okay, so you're going slightly closer than some people are. I guess the big question would have to be, when is Leinster going to concede their first try in the playoff games of the Champions Cup? Or any form of point, in fact. Currently, they are 114-0 from their last two games. Dan Sheehan ready to throw this ball in for Leinster, 10 metres out from the line, nicely taken at the front by, that looked like Max Deegan. They may have had a late change here. I know that Caelan Doris initially was going to be the starting 8. So Deegan's gone to that 8 jersey. I'm trying to find who's number 6. But at the moment, haven't quite caught him. Now, this looks like a very awkward rolling ball. They're trying to find a way of getting it out the back, and there is now an advantage. Or no, ref says it goes backwards. And it's a Northampton scrum. They just needed confirmation and not able to get that ball out. So that is a big confidence booster for the Saints. Early on in this fixture, having a good moment. Managing to defend nicely. Like they've just said, the coaches, the players all fired up for this game. If you're Northampton Saints, you know you're coming in as a massive underdog. One man was upside down there, both legs in the air, doing almost a headstand in the middle of it, Alex Coles, but they popped out with the ball. Hamish, you're back. Says Roof, we certainly are. Pack weights 887 kgs for Leinster, 876 kgs for the Saints. So a little bit of a weight advantage for Leinster in this contest, and an early push coming from the heavier pack, which does mean the free kick goes the way of the Saints. Morning, Hamish, really wish it was 6:30 a.m, says Studs Rays. Yeah, it's still going to be a relatively long day from here with in terms of the sevens and whatnot, but a few Kiwis have woken up early, which is fantastic to see. Yes, this is going to be a very entertaining game. Should be nice, even game, says Roof, and very precise, Lilia. Have you got the winning lotto numbers by any chance? There's Sakabula, kick downfield from Leinster, now claimed at the back for George Furbank. He's actually another man who wasn't going to be in the starting lineup. It was supposed to be James Ram, so a late change for the Northampton Saints as well. A nice stepping from the back, kicking downfield for Finn Smith. Claiming that once Hugo Keenan goes across to James Lowe, he will look for a kick. He didn't quite strike it the way that he would have liked. I thought he was shaping up for the 50-22. Initially chases after his own kick though and gets the low tackle made, but the penalty does go the way of the Saints after Leinster to get the steal. I think that they've said that they weren't back onside. Played at the ball and freezing here by us in the Karoo. Says Sakabula and crispy dark cold in Cape Town. So what's the degrees Celsius in Cape Town at the moment, out of curiosity? I think current weather for us here, I'll have a quick look. I don't think it's very warm though. We're currently sitting 8 degrees Celsius here in New Zealand. Not a mile off, getting frosts in the morning. Yeah, it came off the head of James Lowe when they were looking for the offload. Just popped off the forehead of him. It was a little bit unfortunate because he didn't really have much of a choice about getting in the way of that one, but going to be thrown in now by Curtis Langdon. The Saints have got the ball. Finn Smith, quick hands. Augustus has put it down, and a knock on coming brings the opportunity for Leinster to start their attack. Going to the short side. In fact, no, it is Doris. I must have misread the 6 as an 8 earlier on. Advantages over for the knock-on. Doris close to the sideline. I think Gibson Park tried to say that the Saints were offside too, and there was another knock-on from Northampton, which brings a scrum. So quite a bit of nervousness out there on the park at the moment for both of these sides. We got 15 degrees earlier when I checked in Ireland. Says Patrick. Some deep breaths already happening for these sides. Alex Coles already heavily involved, but Augustus, he was getting ready to run it straight at, I believe it was Gary Ringrose, but just didn't catch the ball first. And up early with you, Hamish from Auckland, New Zealand. Says, so it was greatly appreciated you tuning in for this one. Yeah, currently 4:36 a.m. for us here in New Zealand. The 7's going to be continuing right through to 2 p.m. New Zealand time, which we are covering on the channel. We've got 13 7 streams scheduled, I believe. Going to be doing all of them. Hours in low 20s last 2 days, says Patrick. And we had no intro into the winter. It just came overnight, 14 degrees Celsius here, says Sakabola. So what are the chances that it's going to be like 30 degrees next week? All charge down kick from Sam Prendergast, or of Prendergast's boot. James Lowe just clears the lines, trying to get some sort of territory gain. Tommy Freeman, dangerous try scorer on the wing for this game. Litchfield cuts back inwards. And some big shots already put in by these sides. Robbie Henshaw, of course, one to watch out for, and he's going to have to chase down the breaking run from Josh Kimini. Now back across Coles finds Timo Mainavanua, the Fijian lock. Couple decent Fijians playing for the draw at the moment, and Sona Silasila and Masaki Vothi, both having good seasons. Love to see Mainavanua maybe in one of his last years going and giving the draw a bit of a crack. That's going to be nicely controlled by Gary Ringrose, jumping on the loose ball. Leinster have got possession back. I'm back across to this left-hand side with the veteran Kean Healy. I was in the low 20s last 2 days, says Patrick, back into the pocket. And Sam Prendergast will kick the ball down the middle of the park, finds a bit of open space. A bit of an awkward bounce. Sits up now for Tommy Freeman. That didn't look like he struck it quite how he wanted to. And nicely claimed by Sam Prendergast again. Looking for the 50-22. It's going to bounce back infield rather than outwards. Cleaned up again at the back for James Ram. Now breaking through. Fletcher Smith puts in the grubber. This is going to be a great foot race. It sits up for Tommy Freeman. And Northampton have scored the first points against Leinster in the playoff rugby stages of the Champions Cup. And it is quite the try to get to, as Leinster are yet to score one themselves. There's a good chance of it heating up again, whether it's bipolar this time of the year in the Western Cape. Says Sakabola, but a great kick in behind from Finn Smith. Just a few kicks away downfield for Leinster that just gave the Saints a counter-attacking chance. And then that is actually a perfect angle to show that run from Finn Smith, who just found his way through, and finally Leinster can see him. Thank you, get in. And come on, Saints, you beauty, says Studs Rays, and wow, says Nick. And there too, but yeah, sits up for Freeman, who did have a juggle of it. Ooh, did manage to get the grounding too, which now gives Northampton the 5-0 lead. Still think they win, says Patrick. Of course, we are extremely early on in this match. That one try will not shape this game, but it will certainly tell Northampton that they are a good enough side to get the job done. Grounding, you saw exactly what I saw. Thuds Rays looked a little bit loose, but I believe he got it down. Then it kind of wobbled a little bit. This game is going to be classic. Great start to spice things up, says Sakabola. It's Saints here this year, says Pooh's Ball. And the thing is, with where they sit on the premiership table, all of their focus can be on this Champions Cup now. Who scored, says Finley? It was Tommy Freeman that managed to score the try out wide after the assisting kick of Finn Smith went for the grubber in behind. I remember last game, Saints pushed them close. That is true. These two sides have already met this season in the Champions Cup, that is. Kicked high now from Sam Prendergast. Well watched by Hugo Keenan. Actually overran it, then came back and still managed to catch the ball. And Saints be drawn, or have drawn first blood. And Freeman says Ruth in there. But now Timo Mainavanua, in fact, I believe that time was actually their number one, Iogan, who managed to get himself the penalty. And Gordon's Bay's got great weather, says Jacques. And they said 9 degrees today, says Ruth. So we are getting to that chilly stage of the year, at least here in New Zealand. It sounds like South Africa's a little bit the same. They've decided to kick this one towards the touchline here, the Northampton Saints, as it will put them in a pretty good position on the field. And it's well claimed at line-out time by Alex Coles. Now, trying to get the turnover, and the breakdown was Leinster, and they have managed to do so. Joe McCarthy cleans it up after a good steal from Gary Ringrose. Typical Leinster slow start. Says Gary Miller. Yeah, of course, they've had a bit of hoodoo, I guess you could say, around these playoff games of the Champions Cup. That has gone deep from Gibson Park. It will pull up inside of the in-goal area. The ball forced down by George Furbank, playing in that number 13 jersey for this game rather than Fraser Dingwall. I've worked out as the man he's on. Is Geordie playing? Just got back from a run to the kitchen. Woo, hard work. Says Drape. So Geordie is playing, but he's coming off the bench in this game rather than starting. I've got the starting combo of Henshaw and Ringrose, and then Geordie Barrett, the man making his way off the bench. Now, goal line dropout here for Finn Smith. Not completely desert. Says Sakabola sits up nicely, and Northampton actually managing to retain their kick there. Now Henry Pollock with the win, or sorry, not with the win, but with the run. A youngster, well, a lot of people are keeping an eye on. Some have even said a bolter for the Lions. That one's going to be kicked out from Finn Smith. Maybe not quite the distance that he would have been after. Damn, Leinster losing there, says Drape. Currently 7-0 down, but like I said, plenty of time left on the clock. But Leinster just a little bit scrappy there. Weren't able to get up for it with McCarthy, which means that Northampton did get that ball back initially. But now Leinster have the line-out throw. Dan Sheehan goes to the front, finds Deegan across to Gibson Park. Funden Flair goes to Henshaw. About 30 metres out from the line here for Leinster. Their back line is very quick and is often very clinical too. There is an advantage at the moment, and they're actually going to go back for it. Oh. Showed their charge too late, I think was the comment there from the referee. That is from Henry Pollock. We're going to see the replay somewhere here. That was a pretty cheap shot from the youngster Henry Pollock on Josh Funden Flair. Got rid of the ball. Probably lucky that it's just the penalty against them when you look at how late it was and the fact that there was no arm wrap. We have got there who's got the faster winger here. See, Tommy Freeman is lightning quick, but there's a Tommy on the other side, and Tommy O'Brien, who's got a fair amount of pace too. But I'd still probably say Tommy Freeman for a pace battle. Naughty, says Roof. The youngster giving away the penalty, and it will gift Leinster their first 3 of the contest, or at least it should. First kick of the match, still about 40 metres out, and the 2 Tommies, says Roof there. The crowd, it's always impressive how quiet they go. Of course, the sign comes up saying, please respect the kicker, but do take it extremely seriously. You could hear a pin drop at the Aviva, and Prendergast strikes it and does get it over, which is going to make the score now 3 points to 7. Leinster a little bit closer back in it. He's full of adrenaline, young buck. Yeah, he has talked a big game throughout the week, and I feel like that's something that, like, as a youngster, there's a few of them around World Rugby at the moment who have all the confidence in the world, and I guess some of those guys actually do back it up by saying what they're going to do and then doing it. So, of course, you won't like giving away that penalty, though. Oh, a little bit of a handling error there from Dan Sheehan, but managed to regather it before he reached contact. Ringrose goes on the outside to Tommy O'Brien, goes for the grubber. Finn Smith has to clean this one up. In fact, it's going to go through to Mitchell. Manages to evade one, gets wrestled towards the touchline. Leinster onto the ball. That is a brilliant steal in the breakdown from the home side, and that is going to be not just a brilliant steal, but a brilliant attacking chance now for Josh Funden Flair. 7 metres out from the line. Gibson Park shifting it left, trying to pick the pass, and they couldn't quite decide who to go to. So Joe McCarthy does hit the ball up. Prendergast, pop pass up to Henshaw, puts on the fend to Finn Smith's forehead, thinks about passing on the outside, tries to pop it up, and they'll go back for another advantage from not releasing in the breakdown. And some empty seats, not a sellout. Yeah, I did see in those very corner spots there are few empty seats, but there aren't too many, to be honest, compared to I guess how many seats are in the Aviva. I just finished pissing off the Pakistan Cricket Live section before joining. Love the ruckus and leave play. Says Drake. And we have got the Leinster just saved the day, says Ruth. But now they have decided to kick for the corner. They have not opted for 3 this time. They've decided this is their chance to go for it. But already 15 minutes in. That's the thing. With close games and competitive games, they always fly by. The player matchups are tremendous. Exactly right. Like, that's the thing. The fact that we've already seen this game in the Champions Cup, and now we get to see it again. And last time it was good, and this time it looks like it's going to be just as good, if not better. A little bit of wrestling going on the near side of the ruck. Sam Prendergast shaping as if he was going to be going for the kick. Another penalty advantage against the Northampton Saints, and a double blow of the whistle here. This is already the last warning for the Saints, and we are still within the first quarter of this matchup, like I said. That's not really what you want. Offside, this referee's quite a hard man to understand. You got to really put your head down and listen to him. But yeah, collapsing the maul, and then there was offside. So I don't think that was a last-ditch warning from the ref. I think it was more so just a, hey, you gave away 2 penalties, don't do that more. And go Leinster a try, says Antoinette. And early for a card warning, says Studs Racer. Yeah, I think it was just explaining the 2 infringements, perhaps, in that scenario. Hello, everyone. Happy weekend, says Sebastian. Welcome in again, mate. Rolling maul here. The Saints managing to score the first try of Tommy Freeman. Well, Hamish, you racist. Saying that a referee's hard to understand is not racist. It's just his accent. I feel like trying to make everything racist is more so the problem from yourself, Drake. No wonder they tried to kick you out of the Pakistan chat. But now, Argius Neyman has tried to go for the offload, and Augustus cleaned it up, but then it was knocked on by the Saints. About 10 metres out from the line now. It's going to be another scrum for Leinster. We have got the go Leinster for a try. Go Freeman, run it in, says Ruth. Yeah, big shot on Argius Neyman, and it was actually really well done from, I want to say that was it? No, it was Curtis Langdon, who managed to get their hand in there and just cause that enough disruption to make Argius Neyman offload to no one. Which is hard to do because that man's arms are extremely long, and normally he finds a way of offloading in any scenario. This is a bit of a concern here for Leinster. Dan Sheehan down on the ground. Talking about that ACL injury. Only pull the race card if you can't win the fight, says Albert. The Leinster coaches, one of them taking notes frantically. I believe that is the head coach. As a box supporter, don't like either teams, but if I had to choose, I would support the Saints, says Rob. Invested £10 on the Saints at 13-1, says Eric. Honestly, probably not a bad shout for the amount of like an underdog that they are. They're a more than capable side. And, you know, decent start to this game, although too many more penalties against them might get them into deep water and a little bit of dodgy territory, but they are just still working on that Sheehan injury. Should be able to continue. And Bath Rugby, a supporter in the stands after they were able to make their way through the next stage of the competition just before. Now, of course, that is the Challenge Cup rather than the Champions Cup. They will be going head-to-head with the winner of Lyon versus Racing 92, whereas the winner of this game, they'll face the winner of Toulouse versus Bordeaux. And come on, Northampton, says Sebastian. Yeah, one premiership side through to a semi-final just at this stage. Could be England versus France in both finals if Northampton can pull off the upset here. And give the rest a glass of Pinotage. I'm not actually sure how to say that one. I assume it's some fancy wine. Right, both front rows going down here. But Leinster are still going to have themselves another scrum feed rooting for the Saints from Johannesburg, says Robert. I shouldn't have asked you about food now. I'm scheming for a feed, says Drake. They're just showing their position and territory, both in favour of Leinster throughout the first 17 minutes of this match. But scoreboard, which at the end of the day is the one that matters most, currently in favour of Northampton. We're able to score that early try of Freeman. But this is a great position on the field for Leinster, 7 metres out from the try line right in front of the post. They can shift it right to Sam Prendergast. They can fire it left and eventually get it to James Lowe. They're going to take the quick tap, and they are going to go right. Sam Prendergast, wide cutout pass. Picture perfect there, and Tommy O'Brien, the two Tommies have already scored. And 18 minutes in, Leinster fire back with their first try. Saints looking for some weakness. Says Roof, although in this Leinster side it is often hard to find one. But that try, a big moment, Sam Prendergast here. They had to leave him a little bit open on the outside because of the danger that was going to come from the side of the breakdown. And then, yeah, just perfect pass out wide. And Tommy O'Brien crosses to get the try. Already got a little bit of damage under the eye by the looks of it from something that happened prior to this match. Prendergast's fire. See his studs raise. He's certainly putting his name in the hat in terms of those possibilities of British and Irish Lions fly half. Definitely with Andy Farrell in the selections and as coach. But that one's going to miss away to the side. So the score will sit as 8 points to 7. Morning up early for the 7, says Noel Mullen. Of course, they are not too far away from starting up. I believe they start at 5, if I'm not wrong. We have got I've seen the amount of streaming you're planning on doing. You're a mad lad, says Seb. Yeah, we've got, I think it's 13 7 streams scheduled. So that'll be interesting. One of them, though, I will mention, Fiji versus New Zealand, Tim is going to cover for us because it will overlap with this game. Nice run down the wing. But I should mention earlier on, someone asked where to watch it in terms of the free streams. The best option is go on the Champions Cup channel. Sorry, not the Champions Cup channel, but their website, and they've got a where to watch tab depending on where you are in the world. RTE Player is a great option if you are in Ireland. And I would heavily recommend it. I think England will have a free option too, but I'm not too sure what their option would be. Your scoreboard updated 15 seconds before you saw the try. Says Albert, I guess it's better than it updating 5 minutes after it, though, isn't it? Did you ever sleep, or do you ever sleep on what's happening in the Sevens and the Warriors 1? So the Sevens has not started yet. Do I ever sleep? Not a huge amount on the weekends. Andrew Porter, he has made his way onto the field. That is for, I think, Kian Healy, who's had to make his way off. Kicking for the corner again here, Leinster. Can RTE on Sky, says Patrick. So yeah, RTE seems to be the best option. And scoreboard fell asleep. They picked the emoji that will resemble Hamish after the Sevens. Says Eric, thrown in and stolen though by the Saints at line-out time. A great one to take. And now a breaking run up the middle of the field. This is some nice work from Tommy Freeman. He's already got himself one try. Wouldn't mind another here. Kicked him behind from Finn Smith as he spotted a huge amount of open space. 50-22 on the cards. Oh, his foot was in touch for Tommy Bryan. So it is the equivalent of the 50-22 there. And that is a sensational kick in behind from Finn Smith. Adams family says, Rusi, he's another guy that's probably trying to get his name in the hat for British and Irish Lions selection. And it was a great run initially from Tommy Freeman to just carve through that Leinster defence. Now, another line-out chance here. A few of my mates in the UK use my Sky Go, so they get it for free. So Bravey is boring now, says Shane. In what way, Shane, would you say? Is it because the Highlanders suck this year? Out of curiosity, because I know that you are a Highlanders man through and through, so I'd assume when they're having a bad season, the season sucks. But now, line-out throw. Nicely taken by the Northampton Saints. Looking to get this rolling, more moving. Referee has to duck underneath it. Highlanders to lose today, says Shane. I assume they were the depth of the comment. And we have also got the Imagine Tommy or Tommy scores the next try. It's possible. There are two Tommies on the field at the moment. And they've both scored once. Finn Smith channeling his inner Cam Smith with that grubber, says Gary. And it's going to be the penalty this time going the way of the Northampton Saints. And that is the backline being offside. So multiple players, in fact, for Leinster just rushing up a little bit too quickly. Yeah, referee having to get out of it before he ends up getting cleaned up. Looks like Northampton might just be setting up for a 3 here. At the end of the day, this is finals rugby. And when the points are available, you have to take them. Now we go there, let's go the Saints, says foosball. Looks like Alex Mitchell might have had something to do with his either collarbone or shoulder there injury-wise. Hopefully we'll be all right, but that kick has gone over. And that is now going to make the score 10 points to 8 now in favour of the Saints. Yeah, it is going to be an interesting one to see exactly how this shapes up in the second half. Whether or not these two sides start to tire. It's been a pretty hectic pace for the first bit of the contest. And Saints was 10-1 to win the game. That's crazy odds considering Saints is a very good squad. Exactly right. Like, yes, Leinster have been very dominant in the last little while. Oh, is Alex Mitchell going off the field or is he continuing? I think he's going to continue in this one. But, like, I probably would have had them about 6-1 underdogs, if I'm honest. But I guess that's to try and stop too many people putting a whole heap of money on Leinster. Be a boring crowd in the Zuna Morris, says Shane Hayes. Possibly. Because is it currently break at the moment for students, or are they still at uni? Did you say Andrew Porter, the maul for Leinster, just got more powerful, says Gary? Yeah, so he has made his way onto the field, I believe, for Kean Healy, as I do still see Tyke Furlong in the background, nicely taken under the high ball again for Hugo Keane, and that's about his second or third that he has been able to line up. Offload coming from Argia Sneyman, gets it away to Porter. Now, cross Sam Prendergast, Gary Ringrose, directional change from him. This game is Saint whole season, says Foosball. Yeah, they've had a lot of close games at time. We got the super sticker from Sebastian as well. Thank you very much, mate. I will quickly find out what that one is. 40 metres out from the line. Leinster on the short side, offloading to Hugo Keenan, who cuts back inwards. He had two men with him, but couldn't free up the arms. And another advantage, but no release, coming against the Northampton Saints. I think that's against Henry Pollock. Maybe. Or at least he was in there. Saints have a good speed game. Only Unum Bordeaux can match them, says Dennis, and perhaps they could find them up against them in the final. Prendergast holding the ball with one hand. Deegan with the flick pass round the back. Tommy O'Brien cuts back inwards, 10 metres out from the line again here. But it is a frantic pace for the start of this fixture. And they play the fast game, only one winner, and it's Saints. Says Foosball, Prendergast passes across Ringrose. Although Leinster are known for having one of the quickest ruck speeds in world rugby. So, that's something to note. Looks like they are actually going to go back for the penalty, going the way of Leinster. James Lowe on the mark, takes the quick tap. They're not back 10, I don't think, for Northampton, but the referee says it is play on. Bit of a risk there, taken on the chance at the 3-0 advantage here. This is probably going to be a yellow card. Sam Prendergast, wide cut-out pass, goes to Deegan. Beautiful catch from him. Thought about throwing it one-handed, and he does. Off to Vanden Flair, who cuts inwards and scores for Leinster. And that's probably the only thing saving a yellow card. Oh, hang on. Double blow of the whistle as well. Is that because he's about to award it? Students are back. Waigo Saboti, useless Highlanders team. Jamie Joseph, sucks, fire him, says Shane Hayes. I don't think it's just down to Joseph. I mean, you look at the injury list, you look at the mistakes that the side have been making throughout the season. I don't think the coach can be blamed for all of it. In fact, I think Joseph's probably got them higher up on the table than most other coaches would have. And I snap why those last names, says Rape. And I was there, boom, what try, says Roof there too. But Deegan manages to get the offload from his back. And then Vanden Flair gets in for the try. Yeah, I've got there, Crusaders go, says Roof. Yellow car, says Mikhail Martin. Yellow car? What do you mean yellow car, Mikhail? It is good to have you back, though. I know that earlier on you weren't too happy with the way that the commentary was going. Now, Sam Prendergast, he has managed to get that conversion over, and that will now make the score 15 points to 10. Oh, yellow card, sorry, in that regard. But no, they haven't ended up awarding one in the end. Just the referee again giving another bit of a warning. I'm a red girl. Red here. Crusaders, Reds, chili sauce. We're second last on the table, says Shane. Exactly. Like, honestly, when you look at the injuries and whatnot, this season isn't that bad. But if you want to sack every single coach, go for it. But normally you want a little bit of consistency in the coaching box as well. Now, sitting 20 metres out from the line, it's the closest thing I found to a Saint. Says Sebastian, and back in the dark ages, last pass would be played off the ground. I miss those days, says Studs Rays. Oh, ball spinning around awkwardly, but controlled by Smith, now knocked back by the Saints. will have possession around the halfway line. Hurricanes had a good win, fantastic win over the Chiefs in that contest. And probably a game that, they weren't necessarily expected to win, but they also weren't expected to win by such a large margin. It's only 5 points, says Roof. Exactly right, and still plenty of time remaining. Nicely taken by Sam Prendergast. On across to James Lowe. Now under the high ball, the crowd trying to put the pressure on Furbank, but he does very nicely. Another step from him on the inside. And we have the I'm a state Toulouse supporter, but without Depine Malvaka, things are not looking good for us. It is a tricky one for them at the moment because, of course, people look at Toulouse's season and go, they should win relatively easily. They're top of the table. But like you said, they're missing a couple really key players that without them can make a bit of a drastic difference. So I'm curious how that game goes. We are going to be covering it on the channel, I believe. Will be one to keep an eye on. Currently 12 minutes remaining. Be rolling this one back again for Jameson Gibson Park. Going to be kicked high close to the sideline. Alex Mitchell goes back across to the right-hand side infield for James Ram. He's back up to his feet, has another crack. On the halfway line, Trifest on. Says Patrick, and that one's going to be a break and run from Henry Pollard. Gets around Sam Prendergast. And the youngster will score. I'm not sure what the celebration was. Something under the neck like that to the crowd. But does score the try. One of the only men who does try scoring celebrations in World Rugby today. Hamish is a guitarist supremo. And will the Toulouse versus Toulon Champions Cup match tomorrow be close? Or Toulouse versus Bordeaux, in fact, for that one, Jameson. The last week's one between Toulon and Toulouse certainly was, though, or the last match of the Champions Cup. Look at the Saints go. That's a great semi-final. It's been awesome so far. 29 minutes and 15-15. You can't ask for much more than that is for sure. And we have got there, Ramos will probably need to be at his best tomorrow if we want to win, says Mikhail. Yeah, there's a few of those guys in the team that will really have to step up for that match. That one has gone over nicely. Is Intermac playing tomorrow, Mikhail? I haven't actually seen the lineup as of yet, but I assume that he would be. Prendergast can't tackle at all, says John MC. Yeah, that's about the second or third time that we've seen him actually miss one in this match. Great try, but WF was a celebration. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was from this angle. We might see it now. So he scored the try. Oh, no, we didn't get to see the celebration again. Yes, he is the fly half, says Mikhail. And how are the scrum halves comparing? Both actually doing very nicely. Alex Mitchell having his fair share of moments, but Gibson Park normally does come out just that little bit better than most of the guys he faces. Stepping infield now for Tom Litchfield. 17 points to 15 after the successful kick. And if the Saints win, would that be an upset? Massive. But the thing is, I don't think the Northampton Saints know that they're supposed to be underdogs with the way that they're playing. Like, they came into this game, someone said they were a 13-1 underdog. Someone else said they were 10-1. But for me, like, the maximum you could have put them was 6-1 under because they, like we mentioned, last time they played Leinster, they were close. And they just seem to have a knack of keeping close in games up against good sides. It looks like there is going to be a bit of a change here for Northampton. Looks like who is that? Needs to turn around. I think it's the number 17. Oh, no, sorry. It's actually Walker makes his way on because there was the yellow card. Now, they didn't show that initially, but yeah, the yellow was awarded and takes the shot to the head from Andrew Porter. Northampton have got themselves the penalty, but they've chucked the extra hooker on because of the line out. No, he now makes his way back off. So Henry Walker had one of the shortest appearances of all time, made his way on, and then made his way off. It's a point in a minute. Dodgy defences, get a grip or not. Says Eric, that's the thing. Like, some people will blame the defence, but also the attack so far has been pretty impressive. Didn't they lose to Leinster by a drop goal around this time last year, says Jameson. I believe, yeah, it was only split by a very thin margin, wasn't it? The last time these two sides played. Out of the Highlanders cope with teams, they have all team. And let's go to Saints Changing my alliance or allegiance. Love the underdog, says Drape. And look at that Orange Island Plus bench. Saints will crumble in the second half. And that will be something that the Saints will be maybe aware of, and which is why they've started this match so quickly, because they know, oh no, is Henry Walker now making his way onto the field again? He does. So he gets his second appearance of the match, and that is because of the yellow card coming for Curtis Langdon. And styles make fight. Leinster or Saints like Leinster style, but can they keep it up for 80? Yep, that's the big question on everybody's mind. So far, we've seen 12 tackles missed from the Saints, as well as 11 tackles missed from Leinster. So there have been a few gaps that have been left open, but with so many attacking threats for both of these teams, it's very hard to just keep an eye on one guy. Normally about 3 or 4 have to be watched simultaneously. I can't believe we're already 32 minutes through this match. Like, the second half is almost here, and we have what feels like only just begun. A yellow card for Northampton will be in play for another 5 or so minutes. And for the reason's sake, or for the Ireland's sake, they better play to 100 or 500% and more. So here's Drape. And now Leinster putting the ball in, big scrum. They're being told to use it, though. No advantage awarded to either side in that scrum. Now Prendergast fires it across. That looked forward from Robbie Henshaw, so they will go back for the scrum now in favour of Northampton. I mean, how do the Highlanders cope with teams that are full of All Blacks? I mean, at the end of the day, like, it is tricky for the Highlanders, don't get me wrong, but yeah, there aren't too many players who are stepping up and saying, I want to go down south at the moment, so I don't know whether or not they need to look in different ventures or what the go is. But yeah, they're one of the teams that do struggle to get even one player selected in the ABs most of the time. So to expect too much of a side, like you've just explained, without too many ABs is very optimistic. What team got the yellow card? It was Curtis Langdon of Northampton Saints. So they are playing with 14 on the field at the moment. At least the bench in the second half makes the difference, says Gary. And I was like, hi everybody, I was asleep. Their last game drained my energy, says Bruce. Well, this one will certainly drain mine, because we're 33 minutes in and it has been all stop, or non-stop action, I should say. It's going to be a free kick now to Northampton. Or is it? In fact, it kind of sounded like a free kick whistle, but yeah, it was. So just the free kick. Finn Smith kicks it high. Nicely taken by Tommy O'Brien just outside of the Leinster 22. My fat cat thinks it's breakfast. He is almost 2 hours too early. Says, no, Mum. He's probably noticed that you're up, though, and maybe just decided, yep, might as well try and get the feed. Looks like the referee just trying to put his boot back on. It almost slip off, but he's done very well to do it while Leinster were going for the box kick. Finn Smith. Now, good tackle made on him on the halfway line by Tommy O'Brien. Ball comes out the back. Alex Mitchell. Josh Kimini. Again, it does look like they will go to the sky. A little bit of a counter-up coming there from Leinster. Artigas Neyman decides against trying to charge it down just out. Oh, a big shot coming in from Henry Pollock, who charged in. Might have hurt himself a little bit in the process. He's got his hands on his knees and was a little bit wobbly. Looks like he might have fully recovered now, though. Now inside of the 22 once more. Gibson Park goes back to Prendergast. And he does clear the lines and puts the ball into touch. Both of these sides will be loving these little spells that they are getting. Only the 5 minutes remaining of this first half. Pollock's back down on a knee. He's not too flash at the moment after charging in and putting in the shot on Hugo Keenan. I'm not sure whether or not it's a head knock or whether it's maybe just getting the wind knocked out of him. But yeah, didn't look their flashest after charging in. You know, he got the elbow. He had it tucked in, Hugo Keenan, but it just connected with Henry Pollock. It might have got a bit of a knock. He didn't look like he was all there after making that tackle. I think he'll have to go off for the HIA. And I must have run into Andrew Porter, says Gary. Well, he actually ran into Hugo Keenan, believe it or not, who doesn't quite have the same build as Andrew Porter, but obviously if you get him in the right spot, going to make him go down, and it does look like the try scorer for the Saints, or at least one of them, is now going to make his way off. I'd be very surprised if he passes his HIA, just with the way that he was looking off into the abyss after making the tackle, and then also the fact that he went back down to a knee after the play had finished. I think that he might be done and dusted for the day. Good thing Christchurch Stadium will be opening next. Goodbye, Dunedin Test and cricket. Says Shane. Now it's going to be thrown in nicely. Oh no, Pollock is continuing. Right. I don't know about that. I would say that he wouldn't pass an HIA if they sent him off for one, but they've decided they might as well play him for a bit longer. He is a good player, don't get me wrong, but you don't exactly want him running around with his concussion. Now Langdon, he's made his way back out onto the field after the 10 minutes of a yellow card. Now off to the right chance here for the Saints. Now all they need is the one more pass. Tommy Freeman is in again, and Leinster concede their third try of the match. And cracking try, Northampton, says John. The second for Freeman, the third for a Tommy in this match. And now with a kick to come, this could give them a lead of 8. In fact, it would give them a lead of 9. That would be pretty big. And Leinster, something about the semis and the final of the Champions Cup just seemed to change the way that they play, but I think it is also because of the danger of this Northampton Saints side. Anyone who's backed the underdog will certainly be hoping that they can hang on here. You are beauty, says Studs Ray. And Shane Landers, like my Canes, will have AB some years and still lose, and have hardly any ABs and win one title, says Drape. And Geordie coming on at half-time. Says Drape there, yeah, they might have to make that change. But the thing is, this Leinster lineup, like, they couldn't have stacked it too much more other than, like you said, maybe Barrett, but you still got that Irish international combo in the midfield. It's just that Saints keep on coming. Now we have got their worst final of the season in ages, says Shane Hayes. Yeah, good finish from Tommy Freeman. I wonder what that's done to the odds now, whether or not, I don't actually think I could see them here in New Zealand. But, yeah, it's certainly different than what people were anticipating. Did Pollock score? He did score earlier on, yes. And he's actually still out there on the field, I believe, after taking a pretty substantial head knock. What can a Blues fan say then? Says Sebastian. And now is when you hammer the Leinster money line, says Jameson. And also we have Geordie coming on at half-time. And also Warriors are doing better than the Highlanders. Says, yeah, ball bounces up for Augustus. Gets his offload away to Freeman. This is going to be another try and a hat-trick for the Saints winger. That's not supposed to happen in this game. I can tell you that right now. The Saints, even like the fans of the Saints in the stands, there was someone with their mouth wide open. Just completely shocked and surprised. Geordie makes the impact necessary to win. He's going to have to make a very big one now. But a great offload from Augustus in the number 8 jersey. And then Freeman's just got the pace for days. It was the question of whether him or Tommy O'Brien was quicker. I think we've just had that one answered. Although, to be fair, Tommy O'Brien almost did catch him. And my goodness me, wow, and they're on a roll. I can't believe what I'm seeing, says LFG, and this has to happen, says Juicy there. What's going on, says Sai. I honestly couldn't tell you. And a lot to do for Leinster now. And the kick from the touchline just misses away to the side again. Those are crucial points that they are missing out on. But sitting 27 points to 15. New Zealand Warriors to make playoffs this year. Says Shane, and let's go to Saints, says Foosball. Yeah, brilliant finish from Tommy Freeman. RTE TV must be having a heart attack, says Drape. And I'm awake now, says Suds Race. Yeah, anyone in New Zealand who's decided to get up early to watch this game, this start will certainly have wiped the sleepiness away. And I would predict the second half. I have no idea, if I'm honest. The way that the Saints are going, they could get 50 here. But that would be very hard to do. And I also do think that Leinster are the type of side who could get a comeback. It's just whether or not they can make up this many points. Oh my God, Tommy Freeman, says Nick. And this is bizarre. Is Leinster deliberately trying to lose, get out of the comp, says Albert. I don't think so. Because if they were, they wouldn't have selected the lineup that they did. He has to start for the Lions. What a player, says Nick. And this will be an amazing upset. And I once again will reiterate, I don't think the Saints should have been as big of an underdog as they were heading into this matchup. Looking at the way that the two sides played last time and just looking at the way that they seem to find another gear up against Leinster, it's always going to be close. URC low level compared to the Gallagher Premiership, says Studs Race. And Saints on that smoke, says Drape. So Leinster have got themselves a scrum, though, on the 22, right at the end of the first half. The last four games, Saints have scored over 40 points, says Foosball, and that's going to be a good attacking run forward. Now back across to the right-hand side. Short ball there. We've actually got the Saints' last four games. Not quite the 40 in that game up against Newcastle, but very close to it, and also still a win. So they are on at least a 4-match winning streak after the way that they have been playing. Gibson Park goes off to Argia Sneyman. Thought about going for the offload, but Timo Vanua manages to shut him down. We have got there, Freeman, please Freeman. I got the Saints at 14-1 on the odds, says Foosball. And Leinster underperforming once again in a knockout match, says LFG. And yeah, it's been a trend for a while. I mentioned it at the start too, that they tried to, or they're trying to break that chain, and they're going to have some work to do in the second 40. A ball up socks Leinster, and the penalty goes the way of Northampton, so they will just be able to put that one out. Oh, I think they've said that it might have been a croc roll there from Henshaw. And we have got their wide as the South Island sport, the Auckland Warriors, because they're from New Zealand. So it's kind of self-explanatory, I would say. In fact, South Island is a part of New Zealand. We have got there Sebastian, black coffee too bitter, needs milk, but they have just decided to kick this one into touch. In fact, they've decided to kick this one into touch and continue playing. No. Or is that one out? Oh no, they did tap it first. My apologies. I hope Stephen Donald is watching this game. Says John. And yellow, please, says Drake will Paddy Power pay out if the Saints win. See Eric. Yeah, currently 12 points difference. Northampton Saints leading 27 points to 15. I don't think I saw anyone predicting this. Yes, some people said that, the Saints might have a bit of a decent chance and might win by a few points. But to be up by 12 at halftime, that is certainly, it's an upset. It's a surprise, but it's a deserved result for this first half. Like, Saints played some very good rugby. Tommy Freeman, already on the hat-trick. Already got the hat-trick, in fact. The other try coming for Henry Pollock. And in terms of this Leinster side, we saw Tommy O'Brien score. And then also, other try for was out on the other wing. But it wasn't James Lowe who was out there. Who was on his wing? I think it was Josh Van den Flair who might have got the other try. Yeah, second half is fast approaching. And Hamish has got hat-trick heaven Saturday. Yeah, we saw a hat-trick for Balin Sullivan. In fact, we saw... See, that's the thing. Some people call 4 tries a double hat-trick, don't they? But, yeah, 4 tries for Balin Sullivan off the bench. Warriors are more in Auckland, Christchurch, and Australia, says Shane Hayes. So what's the point there, Shane? You're saying that because you're down in Dunedin, you don't feel loved by the Warriors? Or what's the go? And Geordie Barrett on the bench. Let's always manage to mess things up at the end of the season, says Stuart. Yeah, unfortunately, it has been the trend the last few seasons. Normally it's La Rochelle, though, that can cause the upset. But the Saints looking pretty good to do it here. Second half, like I said, very close to taking place, and it's going to take a monumental comeback from this Leinster team to get the victory. Looking through at their bench, they've got Ronan Kelleher, Andrew Porter, Slimani Beard, Conan. These names are guys that can win the game and have been used to winning throughout the season, only losing the 2 games of the URC, one last week up against the Scarlets, and that, once again, you wonder, did that come back to bite Leinster? They normally give all the best players a week off to be able to recover and be ready. But Northampton, they played just last week, and I believe they played a few of these guys who are in the starting lineup here. So because of that, maybe they are just a little bit more game ready for this contest. McGrath, Byrne, and Barrett, they will be the back replacements in this contest. And then in terms of Northampton, they have still got Angus, Scott Young, Seabrook, James in there too. And then Walker, he did get a little bit of a brief appearance during that yellow card period. Yeah, they will be fired up here, Northampton, heading into the second half. Bring Leeds and Needham, when students are here. Says Shane, and honey on toast at 5:29 a.m. or mango ice cream. I mean, I do love mango, but probably not. Well, it depends whether or not this is like, are you planning to stay up or are you going back to bed? Because I would think it wouldn't make sense to have breakfast if you're going back to sleep after. So that maybe means that the ice cream wins that debate. But if you're not going back to sleep, I guess you could start your day with your breakfast. It's supposed to be the most important meal of the day. Learned that off SpongeBob. But in this case, second half going to be the most important half of rugby for a long time that Leinster have played. Looking at what they have got to come, they have got one more match of the URC. They will be playing Zebre next week. And then in terms of what comes up next for the Premiership side of things, Northampton taking on Exeter. And then they've got Saracens. And then there's that gap week right there. There's nothing happening there at this point in time for the Saints. But if they win this game, they get themselves a big matchup. And that will be up against the winner of Bordeaux versus Toulouse. Now, that game takes place tomorrow. We are also going to be covering that one on the channel. So if you are new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, alongside that, we've got 13 matches of the sevens that is going to be coming up in the near future, including Fiji versus New Zealand. We get to see South Africa in action, Ireland too. A whole heap of teams all playing off. Having a beer at 5:20 a.m. That's a good breakfast, says Si. And Cullen needs to go. With that first half disgusted, I'm with that, says Sean. Is it fair to blame the coach, though, for the way that Leinster played? Because they missed about 12 tackles within the first 20 minutes of the contest. So, yes, the coach can get some blame in most people's eyes, but I still think that the players that he's got on the field, they're strong enough, and their tactics throughout the rest of the season have worked well enough that they should be able to win. At first, the Neighbours' defence system doesn't allow a single point against it in previous 2 Champions Cup games, and then next thing you know, that same defensive system allows 4 tries in one game. Or in one half, says Johan Rugby. Interesting scoreline, says Robert. Yeah, definitely not what people were anticipating. Just looking at it more and more, 12 points in favour of Northampton. We've had a 42-point half between these two sides. Now, quite a few people thought that it was going to be 42 points, maybe just to Leinster, in terms of the way that they've been playing. The odds makers certainly did, and they'll be nervous because they had Northampton as about a $16 underdog in places, and they shouldn't have. And week to need to bring the Warriors. See, Shane, that's a great idea, Shane. CSI, and how many minutes are in are we? We're half-time at the moment between these two teams, so still another 40 minutes remaining. England's backline is levels above Ireland, changing of the guard. Says Easy Ollie, and can't be as used as Highlanders coach. And Leinster getting the hairdryer talk at halftime. Says Gary, if Northampton score next, could be all over. Says D1. 4 tries coming throughout that first half was certainly quite the statement. And players, says Shane. And they score, says Nonman, for the Black Ferns, who are, of course, playing in that sevens competition. There are actually 2 games of sevens in most cases happening at the same time due to the dual fields that they've got available for LA. So certain games we are jumping from field to field. Northampton simply showing more passion than Leinster. Often happens to Leinster in the semis, a bit like their game against the Bulls in the semi of the URC. So here's Mark. I put $4 or £4 on Northampton winning. Returns 44. Cash out is 12. Do I cash out? It's a tricky one because, they could lose this lead if Leinster come out firing. But at the same time, one more try, like someone said, for Northampton, and they could change it completely. I would say I'm not a gambler straight away, so I probably don't know the best decision to make. But I would say for just putting £4 on it, you could probably take that risk because at the end of the day, £4 timesing it by 11 looks a lot better than timesing it by 3, but then times 3s could still be, I don't know what your situation is. I'd like to think that If you're betting £4, that's not your last £4 though. And Freeman guaranteed line starter now. Mitchell outplaying Jameson Gibson-Bart, Finn Smith outplaying Prendergast. So here's Easy Ollie. So yeah, there are a lot of decisions that will need to be made by Andy Farrell. We're only about 5 days or 4 days away from the Lions being announced. But yeah, I would be very surprised if Freeman's not in there after the way that he's been playing as of late. The man has been on fire. Just showing a few highlights from Moana Pacifica versus the Fijian Roar. That is a game that took place last week. Moana in action tomorrow, or today in fact it is now, going head-to-head with the Highlanders, whereas for the Fijian Roar, able to cause the upset and beat the Reds in Super Rugby Pacific. Happened in the under-20 comp, New Zealand versus Australia game, 29-29 draw in the end. So no golden point, of course, for that competition, but yeah, a big result for both sides, really. And I mean, New Zealand, I think, were a bit disappointed because they were the team that conceded a last-minute try. But yeah, Australia deserved to be at least right in there. And then South Africa were able to get the win over Argentina, so they are currently sitting top of the table for the under-20s. And Freeman, the new flying saint, says Ruth. He just seems to have pure pace. Now we've moved on to the Crusaders versus Highlanders highlight. So I think they're just showing literally every try from the last round of Super Rugby Pacific by the looks of it. It's a very quick highlight package. I would cash out, says Robert. You see, it's a tricky one. But I'm sure whatever he decides to do, hopefully it is the right decision. Yeah, there'll be a lot of people probably in that same boat of trying to decide whether or not Northampton are going to throw this one away or whether they're going to be able to hang on and get the win. Yes, I think so. The English are doing better in their matchups against the Irish in key backline positions. A few dilemmas for Andy Farrell. Prendergast starts ahead of Finn Smith or Russell. I won't watch, says Nick. And Leinster's bid probably gets them over the line. But that was an insane 40 minutes from the Saints. And that's the thing. Going into the halftime shed, the Saints pretty much have to just fire up their team. Say more of the same here. We're right in it. Chance of finishing the job. You see there, Smith is world class. Yeah, he's had a great first half, Finn Smith. Even just down to that kick in behind that then got them in a good position on the field to then create their next attacking chance. Like, he's been on point with his kicking and it's been benefiting them big time. And he's much bigger and more powerful. Says Easy Ollie. However, the Leinster coach throws the boot at halftime. Loads of shouting, says Ruth. As you would expect, like at the end of the day, Leinster going into this game, we're not supposed to be down by 12 at the halftime break. Does Pollock go on the Lions tour? He's a tricky one for me because I would probably argue that he's still a little bit green in a way, but then if he's a good enough player, then that shouldn't matter. But I just don't know with Andy Farrell as the selector whether or not he would look at him rather than, let's say, for instance, like he's probably picking that Irish loose forward trio of Van den Flair, Doris at least, and then maybe someone like a Deegan or a... Although you probably look towards, you got Ben Earl, could look at Chandler Cunningham himself, maybe find himself, and I just don't know if Pollock... They might do a little bit similar to what they did for... Who was it last Lions tour that they brought on who was really young? Didn't give him a huge amount of game time, but just got him in the environment. Leinster need an Alex Ferguson halftime speech. So here's Gary and Black Ferns on fire, 24-0. Curry, Van der Flair, Earl Curry. Says Nick James. So yeah, they've certainly got a few guys. Marcus Smith. Says Easy Ollie for who it was last British and Irish Lions tour. I'm just showing a pick and go from Kitty Naholo. That man really badly hurt his knee. No donuts for GB. So does that mean that they scored, I assume? Do you think the Leinster players are being a bit cautious to avoid injuries? URC more important? I don't think so, because if the URC was more important, I would have thought that they'd pick a different side than the strongest lineup possible. I think that this is just the case of Northampton need a huge amount of credit here. Leinster have missed their fair share of tackles, but Northampton have come at Leinster like not many sides have over the last few, I was going to say weeks, but it's honestly months. And, just like the last time that these two sides played, it's probably going to be close, but Marcus has the flair. I think Finn is way ahead of Marcus at 10, controls the game so much better. And he scored now 24 points to 7 in Hurricanes. Yes, Cy. Yeah, that big win over the Brumbies away from home, and then the bigger win over the Chiefs too. That will put the Hurricanes in the right direction, but second half, I believe, is just about here. Anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Like I mentioned, plenty more rugby going to be taking place in the very near future on the channel. We've got sevens, about 13 matches scheduled, and that is not an exaggeration. That is actually the case. So we will have 13 matches almost back to back to back. There is the occasional break. When's the squad announced? A couple of weeks. This week, coming up now, 8th of May. Now, I'm not sure if that's, I assume that's 8th of May, Northern Hemisphere, the Thursday anyway, it seems. And boom, time for a big push in the second half. Saints ready to rock and roll, says Ruth. But yeah, very important second half here. And two sides that, I mean, going up against Bordeaux or to lose in the final, you probably give them both a fair shot. And Hampton just need to start playing smart rugby. And corner kicks, no pushes, passes, they got this. Although they also can't afford to go too defensive, because that's something that we've seen sides do before, and it can royally backfire. I don't know how you do it, mate, but bloody good work, says Sai. And yeah, the thing is, even after all those live streams, we have still got another overnight stream in terms of the sevens tomorrow night. So yeah, the weekend's going to be hectic. Thank you very much, Nick James. Greatly appreciated for you becoming a channel member to the Aussies Pick Committee. He was incredible first half. Honestly, he's up there at the moment. If they're looking at guys in the Gallagher Premiership, I don't think he would be a mile off. Now, I know that they would also select a few Aussies in there. The likes of Valentini would probably sneak in. And then you've got Fraser McWright, Harry Wilson. I'm not sure about his injury extent just at this very point in time, but I assume that he also wouldn't be out of the equation for the loose forwards. Second half just started, says Patrick. It is just about to for myself, as there is about a 30-second delay for Sky Sport now. But now second half, 12-point advantage. The Leinster side, they will want to turn it around, but whether or not they can could be a different story. Kicked off by the Saints and claimed by Leinster outside of their 22. As Ronan O'Gara, the spiral kick goat, says ML. He's had some brilliant ones over the years, of course, and it's a type of kick that doesn't get used that much anymore. Geordie Barrett, of course, was using it a bit, seeing as, of course, he's playing for Leinster. He's a good player to bring up as an example. This one's going to be kicked into touch after the penalty is won by Leinster. So they will want a quick start in the second half. They also probably wanted to score that try just at the end of the first. So excited for the announcement, really hoping it's not going to be Farrell trying to get Ireland ready for the World Cup, says Nick. And any changes, says Si. Not that I can see, other than just, of course, Porter, who made his way on earlier. Overthrown, James Lowe knocking this ball on, and it will be now the scrum feed. Be a little bit disappointed about that one. I'm not sure whether or not that was the plan to actually go right over the top. It actually, to be fair, it looks like it was. Warriors make the playoffs where you do games, says Shane. Depends on the overlaps and everything along those lines. There are normally quite a few around that time of year. So yeah, it will thoroughly depend on what else is happening around that time. Because I'd also want to make sure that if I was to do it, I'd have to be able to commit to all of them, type thing, rather than doing, let's say, a quarterfinal and then missing out on the semi in the final if they did make it. But now, scrum there. It's gone down on the front row. Now, it is the scrum feed for the Saints, and I don't think that would have been a mile away from them actually getting a penalty there. And Hamish, do you think Saints can hold on? Honestly, I have no idea. Like, that is the honest statement. These two sides, you know, they've had the close game earlier on. At the moment, they seem like the Saints have got something in the tank still. What time will the LA7 start in South African time? It has already started, but the first game that we are covering on the channel is actually happening in 25 minutes. I'm not doing it, though. We've got someone filling in for me. First game I'm doing is in an hour's time, roughly. I must say, I love how you engage with the comments. Most YouTubers on here don't. Here's Foosball. It's something that sometimes people do get annoyed with in terms of me talking about the comments rather than the game, but we try and balance it, and I feel like we don't do terribly at it. But yeah, I feel like if you guys are going through the effort of putting a comment, I should at least go through the effort of reading it out, just as a bit of a common courtesy type of thing. That is going to be now a bit of a counter-ruck. Leinster managing to get the possession back. They will go off to the right-hand side. Dan Sheehan unable to break through. Hello, Lilia. Hope you're doing well and having a good weekend. And also, gaps will open. Saints need it to take a couple. And if Leinster loses these games, they won't win the URC, says Dennis. And Barrett could change the game, says Nick. I think Barrett is definitely one of the keys for Leinster off the bench. Definitely with how he's been playing. It was a little bit of a surprise that they didn't go with him in the starting side. Big shot coming in on Langdon. And once again, the ball is taken back by Leinster. Seems like the ball security in the second half for the Saints has not been as strong as it normally is. Jameson Gibson Park tackled on the 22-metre line by Alex Mitchell. Shifting this one off to the left. Doris doesn't get the offload away and instead does drop the ball forward. You need an English jersey though, mate. Can't be wearing the French. Says foosball. Yeah, see, that was just from the Rugby League World Cup. I ended up buying about 5 different hoodies for $9 each. But yeah, well spotted. It is the French one. Now, ready to go for the line out here. A big mistake not starting Barrett. Would have been a completely different game. Yeah, because don't get me wrong, Robbie Henshaw's a great player. And he's had a couple of moments in this game, but I just don't think, I don't think that it's as much of an impact as we would have seen. I don't think Augustus is test quality. I mean, he's certainly putting his name up in the running. We do see Conan's gone onto the field, and that is going to be for Deegan. So a relatively early switch for Leinster, and another knock on. Poor pass. And it goes low. And Doris not given any space to move. Desperate passes, says Ruth. And we go there, speaking of a hoodie, French Rugby League, kid to explain, says Sebastian. Yeah, pretty much it was just $9. I've got a Tonga one. I've got a Cook Islands one. My mum's got a Scottish one because I gave one to her because they didn't have my size. Yeah, I've got a whole heap of random Rugby League World Cup merchandise, including about 10 different Rugby League balls that I bought for $3 each that I have never used. So maybe at some stage we'll have to give away a Rugby League ball just for fun. And we have got there, Saints got players on the bench who can do damage too, says Foosball. Fantastic hoodies, Hamish, says Ruth. And how do you think Rico Ioane will do at Leinster? It will be very interesting because at the moment for the Blues, he has been far from his best form. And that's been the case for the last couple of years. So maybe he'll go a lot better. Bulls beat Ireland. Oops, Leinster 3 times home and away, says Fareed. Now, charging forward here. Does manage to kick this one into touch. Of course, Leinster and the Bulls, 2 sides that in the URC are yet to claim the title. That's a perfect kick from Leinster. I think it's a 50-22 for James Lowe. $9, that's a very decent bargain. I would have jumped on the offer as well. I think it'll improve him massively. Yeah, that is a very nice kick from James Lowe from inside of his own half. And just gets it to curl with a bit of a banana kick per se. Finn Smith just has to watch that one roll over the touchline. Taken by Conan. Early engagement at line out from the Northampton Saints. Looping that one away. Sam Prendergast passes nicely out to Tommy O'Brien. They are still under the penalty advantage. Ringrose with a bit of a pick and go. Pollock gets over the ball, so they will go back for the original penalty. Wouldn't pick Rico for the All Blacks. Honestly, I'm a bit the same, but you just don't know what Robertson's plan is. So for all we know, he might go Geordie Barrett, Rico Ioane as the midfield again. The crowd just remember this game on says starts race. Well, I think they just realised that Leinster have got a decent chance. You know what Leinster's problem? Spink collar on their jersey. Says Juan Pierre Bosch. We go there, Saints have a quick game. And do you think Leinster attack too stale? I wouldn't call it stale. I think it's just been their handling. That's been the big problem. They've had multiple chances that if they had gone and not dropped the ball, they probably would have made a lot more metres. But now, deciding to go with a quick tap there. Close to the line. Doris is over and Leinster get one back. They are not out of this game yet. And they've still got 33 minutes to be able to work to. The second half was when Leinster were always going to drop their heads, put them down and just get to work. And come on, boys in blue, says John. And God damn it, says Nick. And there as well. Yeah, not the start to the second half that the Saints were after. And gosh darn it, says Sebastian there too. Do you like AFL, Shamish? Says Gary, I don't mind the AFL. I know that there's a new AFL game coming out in the relatively near future. So we might have to give that one a look. Don't worry, Saints will strike next, says Foosballs. So Caelan Doris may have actually hurt his shoulder in the process. Is that legal, dummying a tap kick? Some referees say you have to tap it when you do. Others say you're allowed to just do what you want up until as long as you do a legal tap. And they needed to score first, says Sire. The problem with Leinster is they have the worst fans of all time, zero atmosphere provided. Says ML, and all those tackles will take a toll. I'm very, very scared for when Barrett comes on, says Nick. Yeah, very good attack and run from Caelan Doris. No players from the Highlanders will make the All Blacks, says Shane. And okay, now 5 points again, says Ruth. It's too close now, I would say, for the Northampton Saints. They will want a try in the very near future, I would think. And Chow Main, oceans apart from yummy mix wraps. No idea what you're talking about. And Saints going to push it now. Says Ruth there. And he saw a box under 20 player side as well, says Farid. Yeah, there's some big boys in that side. Definitely future box in the running. Now Finn Smith almost managing to go through, but he will be tackled on the halfway line. The Saints will once again shift this one to the left-hand side. And Tangi Tau says Studs Ray's probably got a decent chance, definitely with the injury now of Kini Naholo. Sasha, the best 10 in the world right now, says Nick. He's certainly right up there. And, that's a bounce of the ball and a half. Another 50-22. This time, it's Caelan Doris who gets it. So this has just completely changed momentum in the last maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Is Barrett on yet? Not yet. But I don't think he'll be a mile off. I think the only changes that they made is Conan and Porter. Now we over there. Here we go, says John. And do you think Champions Trophy or Super Rugby is a bigger trophy? Says ML. As in, by weight or by, meaning? Because, of course, Champions Cup, that's across the whole of Europe. Super Rugby is just across the Pacific Islands, New Zealand and Australia. So that one's pretty obvious, I would think. And now nicely taken. And the line out here. Dan Sheehan starting to roll forward very nicely. But the penalty goes the way of the Saints. Illegal joining of the ruck. And thanks, mate, says Rugby. And no, not yet, says Nick. And there as well, Super Rugby is boring. Same teams always win, says Shane Hayes. Well, the Blues have certainly gone rid of that stereotype after the season they've had, although they're looking like they're going to come back into it a little bit by the looks of it. Is that standing behind you, says Hondo. I don't know whether or not the picture in the stadium has anyone in there, but yeah, if anyone was behind me, they would have to be within about 10 centimetres because that's about how far I am from the green screen. We have got there, Doris momentum changed again, although that penalty was a big one to win for the Northampton Saints, being able to take momentum back just for now. And we have got their Championship Cup in is Europe and South Africa and get Argentina back in Super Rugby ASAP, says ML. Although they seem relatively happy with Super Rugby Americas, but yeah, there are a few great Argentinian players overseas. Geordie Barrett now onto the field. Have you ever played rugby? Only when I was a lot younger. So, not recently. They should let Australia and New Zealand top teams compete with the Euro team. As Barrett on, says Tyrone. And the Championship Cup is Europe and South Africa. Says Patrick. Now, it's going to be rolling forward. Alex Mitchell kicking this one down towards the 22. I just want to see a winner of the Champions Cup versus winner of Super Rugby, says Nick. I mean, we got to see the winner of Super Rugby versus the winner of the URC, but World Rugby did everything that they could to make sure that it didn't succeed. So now they're not going to do it anymore. Probably just a ghost, says Hondo. Could be my cat. He's dead. But now trying to go through the gap. Almost dropped there from James Ram. And looks like it's going to be held up as a rolling maul. Geordie Barrett already getting in there. Here we go. Super sub. Says Siam, you're more a cricket man, says Roof. Yeah, I play cricket rather than rugby, but I definitely do a lot more watching of rugby than cricket. Very respect, mate. You're a great commentator/streamer, says ML. Do appreciate it. And we are going to be here for, it sounds terrible to say, but we're here for 13 more streams today, ladies and gents. We've got 13 matches of the sevens coming back to back to back to back. Now running this one forward, Northampton Saints. Going for the kick across, feel well handled. There for Tommy O'Brien. He goes for the chip in behind. It doesn't quite sit up for him though. And at the back, James Ram is able to get it, but Leinster win the penalty. Are we over there, cricket? Like watching a walk of paint drying? Like watching a walk? Or I assume that is watching a walk or paint drying. Maybe. And we over there, they should do best of the Six Nations against best of Rugby Championship. They kind of do in the November and July internationals. The likes of this year in November, I think South Africa are going to be taking on France and Ireland. So if either of those sides, I mean, we saw France win the Six Nations, so if South Africa win, and New Zealand are going to be taking on France. So it kind of means that it's the same type of boat. You're doing Toulouse versus Bordeaux tomorrow? I am planning to. I think it means a wank of paint. That'll be it. But now kicked him behind. Chance only 10 metres out from the line. Gary Ringrose, it slips through his fingertips. And now kicked downfield by the Northampton Saints. Just about goes into touch, but Sam Prendergast cleans it up on the halfway line. Pops it up now to Porter. And this game's wide open now in the second half in terms of just the space for both sides to be able to run. I think there's going to be some very exhausted players in the near future. Ringrose, all class there. And also, we have got Hamish's mum is the cricket guru. Yeah, she does love her cricket. There's McGrath or Warner bowling. It's a cracker of a game, says Ruth. Now going back across. Oh no, that ball's going to be dropped now. Picked up though by Prendergast as it did travel backwards for Leinster and does just about roll into touch. His foot looked like it was on the line for Alex Mitchell, but must have been just in the field of play. And it's a very good kick downfield if he wasn't out. I think the crowd are making some noise. We're going to see the replay from another angle, which will show more clearly if he was out. He was. His foot's on the line, so I think that one's going to go right back to inside of the Saints 22. And Leinster are going to have themselves a line out. Okay, I think the referee just said, I think his foot's on the line. Wait, what did they just say? So they said he wasn't actually in touch when he caught that one or something. Interesting. Northampton hanging on there. Is Geordie playing 12? He is indeed. Yep, came on for Robbie Henshaw in this match. Now Dan Sheehan ready to throw this ball in again for Leinster. Nicely claimed on the halfway line for Arges Naaman. That's where he was in touch. Yeah, apparently there was another angle that it looked different, but from that angle, it looked like the foot was just in touch. Maybe he lifted it before catching the ball or something. And now kicking it downfield for Jameson Gibson Park. And Finn needs to get his boot into the game, says Foosball. Yeah, it's something that he did so well throughout the first half. Whereas second half, territory-wise, Leinster are probably winning that battle just for now. You don't like cricket? You haven't watched IPL? Says Gary. Now sits up here for James Ram at the back. Goes across the short side. Freeman almost got slide tackled there. And it's a good kick. If the ball had bounced favourably, could have been a 50-22. Cleaned up at the back for Geordie Barrett, who does have a long boot. Goes down towards the halfway line. Doesn't manage to find touch with it though. Mitchell goes across to Smith. Now Mr. No Number. Moves up to 45 metres out, and that is another penalty advantage in favour of the Northampton Saints. Finn Smith with some quick hands goes off to Rory Hutchinson. Offloads back to Augustus, who knocks it on, so they will go back for the original penalty. Got it right for me. He stepped back in before touching the ball. Says Studs Race. And yeah, I think if they had shown it a bit further, like you said, because they seem to show the other angle, which I think I was looking that way at the time. Or, sorry, that way rather than that way. I don't know cricket. Oh, no, I love it. Says Sion, let's go ref. Says Drape. Yeah, just going to ground, and then Leinster trying to get over the ball, Andrew Porter, but I believe they argued that there was no clear release. Any 3 points chances taken. And finally, Leinster getting penalised at the breakdown about time, says Nick. Now, Finn Smith, he's currently sitting 3 from 5 today. It's some very good kicking numbers for, well, it was England not too long ago. And also for the Saints, he's normally pretty solid too. And just goes over. That will give the lead of 6 now to Northampton, 30 points to 22. I feel like the refs have been soft on Leinster this season, says Foosball. And Varel I assume that's for Rat is the king of the cricket side of things. 2-score game now, and great kick, says Nick James. Yeah, no matter what, Leinster are going to need a try and something, or maybe 3 penalties if we get to that stage. I'd like to think that they would go a bit more aggressive than that, though. And come on, the Saints, says Studs Rays. Oh, okay, decided to ditch the headgear there, Ryan Beard. He was going to try and put it on and then decided, nah, not for me, taking too long to do up. Ball claimed, though, by Leinster off the kickoff. Jameson, Gibson Park going off to the right-hand side. And straight away trying to get that turnover on the breakdown for Northampton. Beautiful inside ball from Sam Prendergast. Goes to McCarthy, who will continue to pump his legs, driving through Henry Pollock's tackle. And Saints can win this. They certainly can. Oh, big run from Argeas Neyman. Gets the offload away to Andrew Porter again. Still 24 minutes remaining on the clock. Gibson Park looks both ways. Decides Neyman's the option. And a rear error from the big man as he does drop the ball. And go on, the Saints, says F. Stokesy. Who's, is that like Ben Stokes? You don't like Ben Stokes, maybe? And also, come on, Leinster, and tomorrow's going to be a fight of the Titans. Says Dennis, I assume you're talking Bordeaux versus Toulouse, and yeah, it's going to be quite an event, that one. Unless you're also talking about, oh no, that's more today for the UFC. I was going to say Sandhagen versus Figueiredo. I don't know whether or not people would quite call them Titans, seeing as they're in one of the lighter weight classes. Northampton, says Naber. And also, what a defensive performance from the Saints. Yeah, they've just played really well, I think is the best way of describing it. Like, yes, you could go in depth about their structure and everything like that, but they're just playing like a team that want to win this game. Won't be good if Leinster only concentrates on the URC. Says return, Saints defence causing the Leinster drops. He's maybe a little bit. I think that the pressure that they've been putting on and also where they've been going into the tackle is quite interesting. And Nick gifted 5 memberships. Thanks very much, Nick. Says ML. Did he? I don't think it came up for me if he did. You've got the Saints can dig deep when needed. Did I? Says Nick. But I'd rather they play on the front foot, says Foosball. And now currently sitting 58.5 minutes through. And the Leinster have kicked this one into the corner once again. And I tried to teach my my German brother-in-law and my nephews about rugby. Took them to the park, asked my brother-in-law to kick the ball. Looked at him and he asked, where's the ball? Hopeless case, says Lilia B. I don't think I did, mate, says Nick. Thrown in now. Nicely taken. And rolling more here for Leinster after Beard was able to claim the line out. That's short of the line, is it? No, it's a try. Someone managed to get the grounding. They're showing Dan Sheehan, but I thought he was short of the line initially. I thought it was maybe Josh Van den Flair who was more so in the middle of it. Yep, there he is. Josh Van den Flair. Pollock done good so far, says Foosball. I want Lenny to lose. Just for the RTE reaction, I watched, but sad for Geordie. Says Drape. And also we have got there, how do you give subs? It's actually a good question. I think it's through the... I should probably know this, but I think it's either in the chat, in the buttons, or I think there's the membership down the bottom and it has join, or it also, I think, has the option of gifting. Maybe? Leinster don't need anything for the next 2 URC games. They will finish first in the league game, says Patrick. And illegal at the line-out. Sneyman is in front of the maul formation, says Studs Rays. Yeah, that seems to be one of those ones that are really either being watched closely or let go in the last little while. But the kick is missed from Sam Prendergast and moving into the final quarter of this matchup. But yeah, you are right in terms of that was one that we saw Super Rugby-wise was disallowed. And Prendergast hasn't had a great game at all, says John MC. Yeah, 3 points difference with 20 minutes remaining. Caelan Doris, I think I just heard over the loudspeaker. Did I? I would have thought they'd leave Doris on for a bit longer, so maybe I misheard. You should try being a cricket fan in the States. People look at you like you're from another planet, says Gary. And it's a good game. It's been a fantastic match. Like, we couldn't have asked for much more than this when it comes to competitiveness and entertainment for a semi-final. I hope that the Bordeaux versus Toulouse game also does have just as much as this. Might be a little bit lower scoring, but still Does have potential of being an awesome matchup. Going back across to the left-hand side here. Well controlled. Now Alex Mitchell. He tried to pass Lamani. Has dropped it. He ended up somehow in the back line of Northampton. For a prop to be there, it means that he's probably covered a lot of ground in relatively quick succession. Now going back off to the left-hand side for Mitchell. Finn Smith gets the pop pass up. Morena Hamish says, Blues Nate, welcome in, mate. Early morning start for yourself, but we have got plenty more happening in the near future. We got the sevens happening all throughout the next 6 or so hours. Now Augustus gets his offload away. Big bump off of James Lowe gets sacked down by Oyogun's replacement, Tom West. Prendergast is all hype and ceilings. He's like the Sistine Chapel, says Dave Ahern. Oh, drop ball there from Finn Smith. So it's going to be play on. I believe they said that it didn't come as a knock on, which means Northampton once again move close. That's a great body position from James Lowe, but he's told to get out of it. I think he was probably very unlucky to not win that one. Beautiful pass up for the Saints, and they will score another one to increase their lead back to 8. With the 18 minutes remaining on the clock, is it now enough for Northampton to win this contest? And get ready for the sevens. Let's go. The Kiwi lads, Hamish says Blues Nate there. And yes, says Nick James in the comments as well. But yeah, nice pass. Loopy over the top. Just decided to float it rather than going for the wide cutout. And come on, Saints. Got to be a check for offside there. Says Studs Rays. Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened in that breakdown when Finn Smith dropped the ball. I think they said it was a strip. So then from there, the guy who was in front somehow became onside. But at the moment, 35 points to 27. And another kicking chance here for Finn Smith to add the extras. And he does sneak it inside of the left-hand post, which now makes the score 37 points to 27 here. Let's go the Saints, says LFG. And Leinster in trouble now, says Patrick. Yeah, this is not a scoreline that they would have liked to see. Just pinning the ears back there for James Ram. And the Northampton Saints celebrating big time in the coach's box. The fouls will come into play. Says Boost Ball. And I heck what's going on. The score hold up. Let's return to bed and wake up again, says Blues Nate. Yeah, you are seeing correctly. The massive underdog are currently leading by 10 with 16 minutes remaining. Oh dear, says Juan Pierre Bosch. Now, chance here to go back into the pocket. Looks like James made his way onto the field for Alex Mitchell. And that is due to the blood bin. So hopefully nothing too major, as I think that Mitchell needs to be out there at the end of this contest. Previously said Leinster for the URC and Champions Cup double. But Leinster probably going out here, oh well, says Ronaldo. But yeah, that's the thing. Once they, or if they do, get knocked out of this competition for Leinster, then the focus has to go purely to the URC and winning it. Or else they'll be in that same trend that they've been in the last few years of getting so far, just end up missing out. Damn Saints have come to play. Exactly right. This has been a brilliant performance from this Northampton Saints side. And I don't think it can be underestimated how tough this is to do what they've done at the Aviva. To come into this contest as massive, massive underdogs and put on a show and just really kind of mitigate that Leinster attack. This game's crazy. What are the odds now? Sadly, we can't see them here in New Zealand. They actually take them away, but I would have to guess, if we were to guess, that the odds would be sitting probably, like, Leinster would have to be probably about $5 underdogs now, I think, with 15 minutes remaining. And is the score correct? Says the Blues Nate, it is indeed. Saints full squad is, or Saints squad is full of world class. And sevens at the moment. Spain is sitting 12. Spain 7, Australia 12. And of course, we will be picking up the sevens as soon as this match does come to a close. First off, though, New Zealand versus Fiji in the sevens is going to be happening on the channel, and that will be covered by Tim, or Rugby Itch, as some of you guys will know him. I believe he will almost be going live just about in the future. Can't give subs, so here's a couple quid for the quality stream. Thank you very much, Nick James. Greatly appreciated for your generosity on the stream. It has been great to have you. Of course, we've got plenty more coming up in the near future for these two sides too. No way Leinster will be about $2, still over 10 minutes to place their studs race. And this result is a two-way sword for the URC, as this makes Leinster extremely dangerous finals time, as having the URC is the only way to end their trophy drought. So there's this massive motivation, says Reynaldo. It does, but they've had that before. Last season beforehand. Unfortunately, it's been an all too familiar sight for this Leinster team. And Freeman guaranteed Lions start and game over at this stage. Not over yet, 15 minutes to play. But you're going to have to start getting something going good. Jay has said this will change the makeup of the Lions. The likes of Smith, Pollock, Freeman get in above their Irish counterparts, however, 14 minutes. Well, that's the thing. Like, this has made it very hard for Andy Farrell. And unfortunately for him, it's probably made it so that there's no right choice for his selection now. Because, like, he can either go with the guys that he's familiar with who have shown form throughout the rest of the season, or he can look at the guys who have shown form the week before the selection. And don't get me wrong, some of these guys, likes of Freeman, I think should be in there anyway because of the way he's been playing. But you just wonder whether or not have they already got the team decided and maybe just one or two guys maybe coming in due to injuries? Or are they still well and truly up in the air about who they're going to select? I would think by now, with it only being about 4 days away, they probably already have a side pretty much confirmed. And Saints have this, just need to maintain discipline, says Nick. And they have won themselves a penalty at scrum time here too, I should mention. Which does mean that they have been able to work their way up the field a little bit more. Another try could be on the cusp for the Northampton Saints. And that would put the dagger into the hearts of Leinster for the Champions Cup. Although free kick goes the way of Leinster. Hesitation off the throw of Langdon. It's not what you can afford to be doing in such an important moment in this game. So they've decided to give it to James Lowe. Agree, Finley, says Nick, and Pollock gets in. I think that was the test. Says, I think this was the test, says Jay. Yeah, he's certainly shown that he can hang with the best of them. Just whether or not he gets in ahead of those more experienced England loose forwards. And I guess that's all down to Farrell. What is he looking at? Is he looking at the future, or is he looking at those guys who have had experience in the past? That's a big shot on Slimani. Looked a little bit high. James Lowe going for the 50-22. It goes out on the full, but they will go back for the initial penalty more than likely. Do you believe Saints have a quick game? I believe they do. I do also think that Leinster have one of the quickest rucks around, so it does mean that we're going to see, like I mentioned, a very fast-paced 80 minutes. And while this rest scrum rulings are making a dent in Leinster getting back into it, and A says Nick there, yeah, a little bit late on the shot there from Josh Kimmoney, coming upwards as well, shoulder to the chin. They're saying there he's in big trouble. And I think they're right. And a wonderful grip by the Saints, then away, or they away, but rugby is unpredictable. Has Augustus been good enough to be a Bock? I would say at the moment, they'd probably still pick Heineken ahead of him in terms of the box setup, but Rassie's a very unpredictable man. So he might look at an overseas guy who has played up against these English players week in, week out, or a guy who's been playing, there's a bit of inside knowledge there for Augustus. They're just looking at the force. It is upwards. So this is probably going to be at least a yellow card, which makes me very concerned for the Saints. They're talking red here in the commentary box. I mean, there is intent. There's not a lot of a rap with that shoulder. And it's a style of play suits Saints, or of play suits Saints down to a T. And effect of keeping Leo Cullen, who is an attack coach they need, was thinking of John Dobson, who Stormers play with flair during their peak, says Afiwi. But to be fair, up until a couple of weeks ago, a lot of people for the Stormers were saying to sack John Dobson. So if Leinster gave him an offer, he might just take it. A lot of force on the chest is what they've said there. He's hitting high. Staying on a yellow card. That's probably... Well, it's one of those ones, it was always going to be at least a yellow with the action there, and take into account that they had Champions Cup on their mind for the last 3 years, and they really made them come unstuck, or that really made them come unstuck in the URC semis. Last year's final, with only the URC to think about, I'm saying, says Reynaldo. And I read if you're a New Zealand captain, says Studs Rays, and aren't the Stormers playing great rugby? They are at the moment. Sasha's been absolutely tearing it up for them, and hopefully they can continue that momentum towards their playoff games. And maybe not, says Nick, but a yellow card for Josh Kimini, which will now give them a disadvantage for the rest of this contest. Khaleesi can be number 8. He's been doing very nicely in that number 8 jersey for the Sharks, and I wonder whether or not Rassie does have something up his sleeve in terms of that plan. Maybe, I don't know whether or not maybe they'll go Honeycomb at 6 like we've seen briefly in the URC. It was only briefly because once again the Bulls had a few injuries popping in. How much time we got? We've still got 12 minutes remaining. So that's more than enough time, I would argue, for either of these sides to be able to get themselves the victory. Looks like Ronan Kelleher about to make his way on. What games next week? There are URC matches once again getting back underway. Who's been the best performance in the Saints? I think that Finn Smith's been outstanding in this matchup. Tommy Freeman, I mean, he has a hat-trick, so that kind of speaks for itself. Backline movement here. Now Tommy O'Brien tries to pass, gets it away to James Lowe, and 10 metres out from the line, Leinster on hot attack. They do need a try, and they need one soon, and they're trying to make the most of the man advantage. Geordie Barrett came off the bench. I believe that was one of his first touches. Andrew Porter tries to spin Pollock, looking for the turnover, can't quite get it there. Prendergast looking for his next pass, finds Tommy O'Brien. At times they've just lacked that go forward here though for this Leinster team. Now or never, says Juan Pierre Bosch. Good hands from Baird. Looked like he was chopped down with not a lot of arms intended in the tackle. Driven backwards there for Prendergast. There's the ball at the moment. Leinster do 15 metres out from the line. Now back across Argia Sneyman. Sitting 10 metres now from Northampton's try line. Chance to go out wide. Barrett decides to hold it. I don't know if that was his best choice. I think that was probably one of the rare errors that Barrett has made, although now they've got themselves the penalty advantage. So they just try and seal that one off the Saints, but they haven't been able to. Quick hands from Van den Flair. The ball will bounce awkwardly. And they're going to go back for another penalty. Great run, says Juan Pierre Bosch. Is New Zealand playing in the sevens? Now they are indeed playing right as we speak, I should mention. And that is up against the Fijians. I believe, yeah, the live stream is live at the moment with Tim helping us out on the Kiwi Lads channel. Now sitting 10 metres out from the try line here. Chance for Ronan Kelleher to take the quick tap. 7-point game if they kick, says Nick, but they don't want the 7-point game. They want to make it within that ball. Out wide, James Lowe scores, and Leinster are now back in it again. That yellow card could be absolutely crucial for the outcome of this game. And Timmy, my boy, says Blues Nate there. And no, says Nick. And there as well. So Leinster, they now have 10 minutes left to try and find themselves another try somewhere along the lines, which would then give them the lead. But they've just looked dangerous. They've left it late, that is for sure, but they're finding their rhythm. Jordan poo-pooed that one and not agreeing with the ref in that pen. Barrett rolled beyond the tackle point, and poor discipline led to that, says Nick James. It was repeat infringements from Northampton going as far back as that penalty. Prendergast from the touchline. He struck that one pretty good and it goes over. New Zealand dropped the ball. That is sounding like they're going to continue from their recent form in the sevens in that case then. But like they've said, absolutely crucial there. The physical side of the game, a weakness for Prendergast, not as strong in contact as the average test fly half. Says a fairway and get in, says Hank, and nice try, says Juan Pierre Bosch. 9 minutes on the clock, 3 points difference on the board. And James Lowe celebrating that one with the crowd in the stands. The Aviva now starting to get loud and proud. Jameson gives them park, kicks that one towards the touchline, but once again doesn't manage to find it. Running forward, it will be James Ram, the most recent try scorer for the Northampton Saints. Augustus moves forward 40 metres out from the line. The replacement 9 is still out there due to Alex Mitchell going off for a cut. And that is honestly where we've seen this game changed. Nothing against Tom James, but it seems like he hasn't had as much control of this game as Alex Mitchell did. And come on, the Saints, says Lilia B. Also during that period, didn't help that there's a yellow card now against them too. What a game, CSI, yeah, it has been a back and forth encounter. And yeah, a fantastic match to witness for the semi-final. Like, it's exactly what you want. Two sides going at it. Easily could have gone either way multiple times throughout this match. Leinster, once again, will kick this ball into touch. And first, nothing kick from Smith, says Studs Ray, and maybe that is because the pressure is starting to kick in a little bit. We are in that scenario where, honestly, both of these sides are strong enough to be able to win this matchup, but who will be the one that puts the icing on the cake? Does secure victory. Northampton managing to claim that one round the halfway line. That looked like Ryan Beard almost went straight in through the side of the rolling ball. None with New Zealand teams. I have watched it. It's from its very dominance to now an easy beat team. And that's going to be forward pass there, I believe they've said, for James Lowe. Just a little bit more pressure going on to this Leinster team. Now, 3 points here for Northampton wouldn't be enough, at least to have a lead of more than the 7. And this game is too exciting to switch to the 7s. Says Liliaby, are they close to the try line? At the moment, for Northampton, they are about 40 metres out from that try line. So, no, not really. But if they win a penalty here, then they will definitely be able to work themselves quite close to getting to that line. I will mention that currently New Zealand and Fiji facing off in the 7s, but we are going to be covering the first game back, which is Samoa versus Kenya. As soon as this match does come to a close, Porter not happy with a join in the ruck. Crowd aren't happy either. This just at the moment feels like we're going to see some sort of big call from the referee, and it might shape the game. He will also want to be on his A game for that last 6 minutes or so. In fact, a little bit closer, about 25 metres out. Ref does not like Leinster's front row. Yeah, they haven't won a huge amount with this referee as of yet. And the game of the season for me, says Nick James. Yeah, it has been an outstanding contest. Still very close. There might still be a late tail of the tape. Now off short. Into the hands of Tommy Freeman. Leinster give away any more penalty advantages. They might be done and dusted. I mentioned before. Now ball available for James. Goes across to Elliot Miller-Mills. Now across again, James finds the big man Jones. And no one likes that Leinster front row, says Gary Miller. I think that's called as a maul. They're told to use it. Geordie Barrett's popped out with the ball, of all people. And now they will fire this one out wide. Gary Ringrose goes across to, that was a little bit late on O'Brien. He's kicked it down the field. The crowd are booing. It's into the in-goal area, so just forced down. Yeah, O'Brien has taken quite the knock there. Barrett says Studs Racing could go extra time. That is the potential option. If Leinster were to take a 3, yeah, it's a bit late from Augustus. I don't think it was as late as the last one that we saw. But, yeah, he still made contact. And it's still a little bit from that angle. Augustus trying to say that there wasn't much in it, but I think the referee and the TMO are going to make that final decision. Fiji just too good, says Novmum. And O'Brien has stayed down for now. No, nothing in that, says Nick James. There definitely wasn't as much contact as there could have been. I do think that Augustus pulled out a little bit. So it's going to be the penalty. Crowd call ref, says Drape. Yeah, that is going to be a massive call now. It's definitely not a yellow card, but I think they're going right back. There's nothing toughen up, says Studs Razy. I don't think it was, like I said, I think he half by pulled out of it as well. Maybe he's tackling in August, says Jay there, and 3 points, says Foosball. Do you take the 3 or do you go for the corner? So because of that kick from from O'Brien, they actually go right up to where he kicked it to, which means that they will be inside of the 22. Now there's a decision here for Leinster. They're taking the points, or are they? No, they're taking the corner on. They want to win here rather than a draw. They have still got the man advantage for a little bit longer too. And Saints might give them a chance to shoot for 3, but they've turned down that chance. They've said, we see your 3 and we'll raise you 7. But they have to get this one right now, Leinster, or else that could be the difference between a win and a loss. Nicely taken by Arges Neyman and brilliantly defended by Northampton. Leinster losing 10 metres from that rolling maul. Geordie Barrett crashes forward. Where's that big turnover going to come from for Northampton? Who will be able to change this game? Pollock in off his feet. Oh, the ref's been very lenient there with Pollard. He went down to his knee, got back up, had another go, and then Northampton got themselves the turnover. No matter if Leinster win this game, they will lose against France, says Peter. So do you think that Northampton will beat France then, Peter, in that case? What a turnover, says Nick James. And it's a very important one too. Looks like they're going to be rolling this one back for James. So clutch, says Nick. And also, always take the points. Bad call, says Patrick. And they won't go for the quick line-out throw. I believe still a minute remaining. We're going to see the turnover here. So Henry Pollock, first of all. Oh, no, that knee maybe just didn't touch. Yeah, the crowd aren't too happy about the replay, though. And joke, says Peter. But now Ross Byrne, he will make his way onto the field for Sam Prendergast. A very late change here for the Leinster side. This is going to be a big moment in the game, and it will determine the outcome. Nice throw in from Leinster off line out time. They are on the halfway line now that they've turned down the 3. They have to get the try, or else they will get crucified. Again, trying to go for the turnover for Angus Scott Young. Every breakdown at the moment, Northampton are getting right in and looking for the steal. So for Leinster, they have to make sure that the clean-outs are the excellent Pollock. Says Jay Geordie Barrett, quick hands on the outside to Ryan Beard, who cuts back inwards but couldn't quite let go. Pollock again looking for the steal but loses his footing. Doesn't end up giving away the penalty advantage. That is a big shot on Ronan Killer, but he breaks through and Smith has to finish him off. Geordie Barrett passing quickly. James Lowe, quick hands. Moving 22 metres out from the line now here for Leinster. 2.5 left on the clock and still 3 points separating these two teams. But it has been a game and a half, ladies and gents, for the Champions Cup semi-final. The thing is, these two sides are going to be in action next week for their respective competitions. And on the 24th of May, one of them's going to be through to the final match of the Champions Cup. For now, it is Northampton. Geordie Barrett, 2-man tackle. They've done well to shut him down. Gibson Park off to Ryan Beard, who has brought quite a bit of impact off the bench. Pollock is everywhere, says Nick James. Yeah, he's working his backside off at the moment. Oh, that was lucky not to be a penalty against Northampton for being on the wrong side of the ruck. Ross Byrne trying to go through. Phase after phase. Geordie Barrett drops his head. He's tackled by Pollock. And what a player, says Tom. And excellent Pollard, says Jay. And Pollock is everywhere. And there too. The question is, can he get that one big steal here though? 90 seconds left. He managed to get one not too long ago. Has he got another one on the cards? Referee reluctant to give a penalty advantage. Arges Neyman manages to find the offload. Off to James Lowe. Passes to Josh Van der Fleer. Cuts back in with just short of the line. And he's dropped the ball. And now they have to check this because there might have been a knock on. I think Van der Fleer is saying it was taken back by Northampton, in which case a Leinster hand then put the ball on the line. And that might be a last-minute try, but the time is off. And the decision is soon to be made. But Josh Van der Fleer, close to the line, I think he needed to try and go for a ruck there rather than going for the line. On-field decision is no try. As well, I should mention. So they are going to be checking this one to see whether or not there is the knock-on the ground. Nail-biting stuff. That was breathtaking rugby. Great call by you, Hamish, says Studs Rays. And think he lost it, says Nick. And lost, says Sakabula. And there too. And if this one is lost, that's pretty much the game done and dusted. Or at least very close to it. But it was out to Josh Van der Fleer. Now the ball is dropped. But the question is, has that gone backwards? It did. And then Ross Byrne put it on the line. So that one, there's no denying that that ball's come out the side of the breakdown. And then I think Ross Byrne has put it down. Van den Flare, we see it there. It's gone backwards. So from there, it's play on. I think that might be one of the most insane ways for a match to end. The Saints didn't want to put it down. In their in-goal area, it's still in the field of play. It leans on the post or on the corner flag, which I believe is not out. And then Ross Byrne sticks his hand down on top of the ball. I think this is going to be a try, and this is going to be a very controversial way to end this match. Now, I should mention, this might be quite bad for Northampton here, because running back from an offside position, one of their players actually kicks it back and controls the ball. I believe that was actually Tom Jones. So that might be something that gets given as a penalty anyway, whether or not this is a try. But yeah, Tom Jones trying not to touch it, and it did touch his foot, so that now makes sense of why he wasn't willing to put the ball down. But this is a big decision, a controversial one at that. No matter what way they rule it, if it's a try, it's going to be controversial. If it's not a try, it's going to be controversial. But the way that this one looks live, I think that might be a try. They've said first infringement by 5 green, so this sounds like it might actually be a no try. Now, he was just next to the try line, so this might be a penalty try instead. It was not a try, says Connor Crowley. Right, yellow card against number 5 for Northampton. Yellow card that close to the line, I would think will end up. I think they're just checking whether or not it's going to be a penalty try. So that was an earlier infringement. Okay, so penalty for Leinster. No try, says Nick, and no yellow Northampton. So yeah, Northampton will go to the bin for, again, the second time in this half. And it's the big man, number 5, Alex Coles, who does make his way off. But 1 minute remains here for Leinster up against a 14-man Northampton. They've already turned down the 3 multiple times, so I don't think they're going to go for it again here. It looks like Ronan Kelleher. What's the decision? Is it a line out or is it the quick tap? Saints fumbled it. Says foosball. 1 minute left. This game has had a little bit of everything, ladies and gentlemen. It's been non-stop action and a very fitting way to end this competition, at least for one of these two sides as well. Going out, firing, playing with their hearts on their sleeves. I completely missed what the card is for. I actually did too. I think it was for an earlier infringement, as it wasn't for the one right next to the post. Right, the huddle has happened. Time is off. Would you collab with Gorch? Gorch. Who is Gorch? I'm not actually too sure who Gorch is, if I'm honest. But now, Josh Van den Flare will go back across. And they are currently 2 metres out from the try line here. Northampton trying to get into that breakdown. Have they stolen it? They might have. They've managed to somehow get the possession back. 30 seconds left. I don't think they can hang on to this ball this close to the try line without giving away a penalty. It's going to be a risk. 25 seconds left. I think they have to kick this one out. I don't think they can take the risk. They've won it, says Nick. 19 seconds remaining here. The Saints are trying to hold on just out from their own line. All they have to do is survive for 10 more seconds, but this counter right from Leinster is going to be an absolutely insane one, I would think, but well sealed off by the Saints for a historic win at the Aviva. Back into the pocket. Finn Smith kicks it out, and the Saints beat Leinster to go through to the Champions Cup final. And that is a massive win at the Aviva, knocking Leinster out of a comp that they were expected to win. And now the Saints, as ironic as it is, do go marching in. Can you believe it, says Sakabula? Yeah, going into this game, don't get me wrong, score at halftime seemed a little bit more one-sided than we would have expected, but this score seems about right, separated by the thinnest of margins for these two teams. It's exactly what we wanted to see. And yeah, it has been a brilliant one. Tommy Freeman, hat-trick for him. Finn Smith, phenomenal in that number 10 jersey today. Let's arrive. There was a good try, French ref. Don't know rules, full stop. Says Dennis. And never in doubt, says Jay. And amazing tally, says Rob there. What a performance and exciting finish. Brilliant finish to this match. And what a gift by the ref, says Bill. And also never in doubt. And I always love it when the underdogs pull a magical performance. Well done, the Saints. And the Irish curve is alive and well. And Leinster fail late in the season again. And will Leinster win any cups this year again? Says Ian. And there as well. And boom, great game, says Stephen. Fantastic game. I think that one's going to be probably hard to beat for the overall weekend, I would think. But we're more than happy about that. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are now going to be transferring over to 13 Sevens matches in a row, which sounds like I'm taking the piss, but that is actually what we are doing. The LA Sevens taking place. When is the final? 24th of May, or the 23rd for you guys up. And the North twice didn't kick, twice bolted in the last 10, says ML. And thank you, State, says Dennis. And should have started with Geordie. Yeah, they'll be able to look at it now and see what they should have done differently. But yeah, it's a big one for the Saints team. They did play extremely well throughout the first half, though, finding a gear that some people probably didn't even know that the Saints had. Yeah, it will be a bit of a disappointing one there for Leinster. And it looks like a few of the Leinster players almost can't quite believe what has happened. And that one, good commentary, keep it going, says Juicy. And we are going to be back tomorrow with more Champions and Challenge Cup. So, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all for the next one.